Mr. Wyatt, today was your original take it or leave it deadline for LTV. Did they take it or leave it?
Well, the answer to that, I would say they neither took it nor left it.
Why?
Because we have a proposition or an acquisition of this magnitude is that important that as long as there's a possibility of a door remaining open, we want to keep the door remaining open. There was publicity that appeared today in one of the national papers that adversely affect our proposition, and we have therefore decided to extend our offer for at least another couple of days while my principals reevaluate the situation.
This offer being $150 million for LTV's 56% in Braniff?
That's right, and this is a cash offer. And I want to state here that I do have the backers and that we are prepared to come forward and make this offer of $150 million.
Is it true that when you came down today, you were prepared to tell LTV who some of your backers were?
When I arrived in town last night, I was prepared to hold out until the last minute today on instructions from my principals, and then to notify them that if I couldn't obtain the option which we are seeking, that some of my principals would be made available this day today if it had not been for this article that appeared today.
You have quoted Jim Ling as saying, Mr. Wyatt, you're not for real. Let me ask you, are you for real?
Well, I've stated publicly to the press and now to television that I do, and I want to state this emphatically, I am backed by $150 million, which I am prepared to step forward to, and all that we've asked for is a simple option. And I'm going to take a minute to explain this option. This option would be made up to me alone, non-transferable except with LTV's permission, and also the article in the Wall Street Journal mentioned that this would freeze out anyone else in the meantime. I also stated that the option could list that if a better offer was to come along in this 2-week interim period, that all that we would request was a first refusal to match it. Therefore, I cannot see where LTV, for an offer of this size, has anything to lose by saying, okay, put up or shut up. And this is what I've tried to do all along.
An individual asking the city trying to make the city stop issuing permits for apartment construction?
Well, I don't want to try to make them. I'd rather put it that I'm asking them not to. But if we have to go to court to stop it, then we'll go that way.
Hurricane, I haven't even had a chance to talk to Frank about this, but a Hawker hurricane someplace in Thailand setting in a farmer's field. Incidentally, the Hawker hurricane was the predecessor to the Spitfire, the British Spitfire, in the Battle of Britain.
It is a virus disease, not a bacteria nor a fungus. And the sprays that we normally use to control bacteria and fungus diseases are not effective for this virus disease.
In other words, right now there is no cure for it.
That is correct. We hope to develop some resistant St. Augustine variety grasses, and work is being done along that line since we can't control the disease with chemicals.
Is there a great deal of decline in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yes, sir, there is. Anytime the grass gets a little bit weak, it's subject to attack by the virus.
How does a person spot it in his lawn?
The grass begins to turn a little yellow and gradually loses all of its green coloring, and it usually has a little brown tip on the end of the leaves or blades of the grass.
You know, when you talk about a disease of your lawn, like St. Augustine decline, and you listen to a man like this talk about the germ or the virus or the bacterium, sounds very much like you're talking about one of today's disease problems with human beings. And just maybe you think you're talking to a doctor. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move at Dallas Municipal Auditorium.
Volunteer organizations reach so far into the community that even in this tight year, with an important story to tell about the 70 agencies needing so much help, that even though it is somewhat difficult, I think it can be done with a strong story and with the aids that are available, such as the film, which so many people will be seeing this year, called Blueberry Rain, this kickoff program, literature that will be mailed out, newspaper publicity and advertising paid for by sponsoring advertisers, radio, television commercials. I think this will all go to telling a complete story that'll put us over the top.
Is this year more important than any other year?
It is, because the needs of the community are greater. Population's increased. So many more people need so many more things, I think, in these days and times when everything's so much faster. And with more people, we have more people sick and more people in need of assistance.
This $150 million that you're offering them, as you say, it's part of it's yours. Is this strictly a cash deal, or are there any securities involved?
This is strictly all cash. Between now and next February, the entire amount would be paid in.
Who have you dealt with directly at LTV?
Well, I've dealt with 3 chairmen of the board over there, from Mr. Ling, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Thayer, and Mr. George Griffin. I've also had conversation with Dennis Lyons, Grant Fitz, and 1 or 2 others over there.
Do you feel the numerous shakeups of LTV management have hurt your offer?
Well, I don't know whether they've hurt any, but I can honestly say I don't believe they've done it too much good.
Well, we plan on having an injunction served against the City of Dallas where they can issue no more apartment permits until we get satisfaction on our part.
That's apartment building permits. Why are you doing this?
Well, I lost a son and daughter-in-law in the San Carol apartments on May 12th. And my purpose now is to keep this from happening to some other parents.
We appeared before the Texas Highway Commission in February of this year and asked permission to conduct exploratory studies on the toll bridge prospects at Mountain Creek Lake, which would connect down to Grand Prairie and that big area out there with downtown Dallas. Highway Department indicated at that time that they were going to finance the project themselves and conduct their own studies on it. Now, we've again been contacted by interested citizens in Grand Prairie and Dallas concerning this project. And if the Highway Commission gives us approval, we intend to undertake immediate studies of this project, and we think it's a very worthwhile project and one that hopefully will be economic.
How are your studies coming along on the additional turnpike between here and Dallas?
They're substantially completed, and we hope to have those studies available at our fall meeting, which will be in either late September or early October.
Colonel, there appears to be a Confederate rumor flying around the country that the Air Force intends to turn over a portion of the fleet, perhaps all of the F-111s, to the Confederate Air Force. Any comments on this, sir?
We'll take them.
You're looking to purchase any particular type of aircraft?
Well, we have a task force that's ready all the time, looking all over the world for different airplanes. And we have a line on some Japanese Zeros, we think, in the South Pacific. It's something I've worked hard on. It's something that I understand. It's something that I think I had something to do with the final decision. And it's a very important decision for Texas, because what it says is we're not going to accept a tariff plan that would have busted the price of domestic oil and thrown a lot of people out of work in Texas. But it's also an important decision for the country, because given the turmoil in the Middle East, a tariff program would have made much more difficult the import of oil. And so I think this is good for Texas, it's good for the national security, and the administration did the right thing in killing this tariff proposal, and I'm proud to have had a part in it.
Bids were opened at 3 o'clock this afternoon for construction of the foundations for 3 of the 5 terminals of the Dallas-Fort Worth Regional Airport. Bids range from $970,074.18 to $745,439. The apparent low bid was submitted by O'Rourke Construction Company of Dallas. Ernest Dean, the Deputy Executive Director of the Dallas-Fort Worth Regional Airport, read the staff engineer's estimate of cost for the project.
$931,820.
Congressman Don Edwards from California has initiated a letter and circulated it through the Congress of the United States, and he has approximately 49 or 50 signatures, which will be sent to President Nixon today, asking for general amnesty for the controllers. And he draws a parallel in the handling of the postal employees and the air traffic controllers. There has been no sanctions or actions taken against postal employees, and 250,000 of them struck earlier this year.
Now, these dismissals, are these alleged to be the result of the sick-out? In other words, men who laid off work?
Yes, and in most cases they happen to be singled out because they were closely associated in leadership roles with PATCO. And to date there are 47 who have been terminated throughout the United States.
Dallas is on the verge of getting the most elaborate air controller system, radar system known thus far. Do you know when that will be installed?
I understand that it will be installed very shortly, and the funding for that will come from the recently passed airway user tax bill in Washington, and I think that's a direct result of highlighting the deficiencies in the system this past spring. I think the legislation that was enacted came as a result of that.
Now, there are many airports having a lot of problems around the country. Why was Dallas selected?
I believe because of the explosive growth of aviation in this particular area in the Southwest, and I think that they project a great increase in this area.
Mr. McCaleb, do you feel that maybe this opinion is fouling up 29,000 students for the benefit of one school?
Well, it certainly is going to cause some problems, but I don't know it's, in other words, it's just as important fouling it up for one school as it is the entire school system. In other words, the important consideration is the education of all the children.
Mr. Aiken, in the 5 points issued by the 3-judge panel, they say, we deem it less disruptive to postpone the opening of the school for a very brief interval than to effect total segregation after the schools are in operation. That sounds like prejudgment.
I think that should be desegregation.
Total desegregation after the schools are in operation, I'm sorry. Does that sound like maybe they're prejudging this case?
Jim, since this matter is in federal court, I hesitate making any comment on the legal aspects of the case. I feel that as an attorney that I should direct any remarks in that regard to the court.
We'll be developing programs immediately to start to meet these needs.
I was the president of the New York Senate chapter at that particular time, and subsequent to that I was elected to the presidency at our convention in Vegas.
Have any of those problems been ironed out as of today?
I think that there has been strides to bring the different factions together, and I think there's been overtures on the agency and a change in their posture. But the dismissal route that they have taken to date has demoralized the workforce that's still in the centers and terminals in the country.
Bids were opened here at the offices of the regional airport for construction of the foundations for 3 of the 5 terminals of the Dallas-Fort Worth Regional Airport. Bids range from $970,074.18 to $745,439. The apparent low bid was submitted by O'Rourke Construction Company of Dallas. Mr. Thomas Sullivan, the executive director of the regional airport, had these comments.
We feel quite pleased about the number of bidders and the competition that existed between the various bidders. It does reflect, as I believe, a good set of plans and specifications is prepared by the architects and engineers on the job. We hope that this kind of bidding will continue on future jobs.
Art Sinclair reporting for Channel 8 News on the Move and the offices of the regional airport.
Not yet fully underway. The prices will rise again. Do you predict any ceiling on that?
No, I don't know what the ceiling will be. I think some of your strategically located sites with regard to access points to the airport and so on will continue to rise at a rapid rate. And your large acreage tracts will continue to rise, but as to where it'll level off, I don't think anybody can say right now.
It's never comfortable. Really, when you come to a moment of truth like this, and you have some friends who feel very strongly in one way, and other friends feel very strongly in another way.
If the council approves this project, I would expect and insist that the churches and trusts carry out their obligations as stated. I would expect and insist that the citizens living in these units protect and maintain them as if they were their very own home, which in reality they are. I would expect and insist that this council and our staff rigidly enforce every ordinance available to us, not only to maintain the new areas, but to improve the old. I would expect and insist that we proceed with all speed possible to implement our code enforcement program for the entire area. And the entire area is much larger than just this immediate tract.
This issue in particular, how is it going to turn out? Is it going to get to a head-knocking session, Freddie?
Well, I think since I've been on the council for a year, I don't really believe we've had many issues that we've been 100% behind. So I think this will probably be normal.
But isn't this one of the worst ones?
Yeah, this is one of the worst ones here, I think. Yeah.
All right, buddy, out of the car. Come on. Let me see that license. Did you know you were going 96 miles an hour in a school zone? It's 3 a.m. You don't even have your lights on? You turned the wrong way on a one-way street? What's the trouble here? Come on, tell me.
I know why you stopped me. You stopped me because I'm black.
Next was when we're going to go into the People Want to Be Free sequence. And Randolph, you're up here. This is where you make your speech to the...
These people are participating in the 4th annual Caporama, which is being directed by Dr. Ralph Stone of Texas Christian University. About 100 youngsters from the War on Poverty target areas in Fort Worth are participating in this production. Most of them are black, but there are some Mexican Americans and some whites taking part. The show itself will be presented Friday night at 8 o'clock in the Tarrant County Convention Center. This is sponsored by the Fort Worth and Tarrant County Community Action Agency. Continuing drama groups from the neighborhood centers develop script segments. Then Dr. Stone helps mold it into an actual show. You can obtain complimentary tickets for this show courtesy of the Community Action Agency. Not only does it provide a lot of entertainment for those who watch, but a lot of activity for those who take part.
Many people feel that that fees like this, that they're already entitled to that fee when they pay their taxes. And of course, it'd be particularly hard on the lower income people, I think, to have to pay a special garbage fee.
Are you opposed to a fee like that?
No, not necessarily, Phil. I'd like to see a lot more done on it. I'd like to see who it would affect, and I think, in all honesty, we ought to hear from people, the citizens, to whether they're for it or against it, because it's a real rough thing, I think.
Well, the effect has been very significant. We first noticed the change in land values soon after the airport was announced in September 1965. The increase from that period on was gradual up to about 1968, and then all of a sudden it just began to take off, so to speak. And I'd say land values around the airport have as much as quadrupled in many instances.
We've been preparing since January to start school on the 25th of August. The teachers, all the teachers reported today for a week's in service, and the students will report Tuesday. The buildings are ready, the parents are ready, and any delay would upset them emotionally. We feel it'd be much better to start as is planned and make whatever changes are necessary later on.
Well, it simply means if all the aspects of the law are completed and it is approved all along the line, as you just told me, that's the first news I'd had of it, then it simply means that Fort Worth will get all the funds that were originally approved plus another 30%, because we have the way we read the law, we have another 30% of those funds coming, which simply means we can move down and reach more youngsters at a preschool age to give more help in the disadvantaged areas. We've been planning this should these funds become available, and we think that the way to attack the problem is through the preschool child and those who are at age 4 and age 5.
I have heard that from various controllers in this area that there are blind spots in the primary radar.
Yes, sir, we've all heard it, but is it a fact?
It is a fact, and I understand that the new equipment that will be coming, the new ASR-7 radar, will eliminate a great percentage of the blind spots that they have today.